In today's Leeds news, Okafor comments aimed at Swiss, possible Morita agreement in principle, James opens up on injury nightmare, record move proposed for André, and academy results. Hey folks, welcome to the Leeds View. Jer here with your news for Wednesday, the 6th of May. Hope you're having a really good week so far. We will have a podcast out tonight to have a little bit of look ahead to the weekend's action, as well as talking about the Leeds United medical team and the miracles that they've been working over the last 2 summers. We might also dip into some of the predictions videos to see where we all are versus what we all claimed would happen a few weeks back. So yeah, there's not a huge amount of stuff else to get stuck into. If you want to support the channel, you can do so by downloading Finalysis through the link that is down below in the description, or in that little button QR code. If you're taking a photograph with your phone, you can do that. Also partnered with OK Jersey, 8% off for World Cup shirts for a World Cup summer using the code TView in your shopping basket. If you are ordering from OK Jersey, order a size up. Okay, right, we got a bit of news to get stuck into, and we'll start with the Noah Okafor tweet from Fabrizio Romano. Right, so earlier this week, Fabrizio Romano tweeted about Noah Okafor scoring the most amount of Premier League goals for a Swiss player in a single season. He's been in really good form for Leeds, but naturally that got everyone thinking there was ulterior motives to this and there might be something going on. And if you're a little bit skeptical, you can probably be justified in thinking that way, especially at this time of the year. But it appears that they might not necessarily be aimed in the direction that people thought they were. One Leeds account even went as far as to say, when does Fabrizio Romano ever tweet about Leeds United? Funnily enough, if you do actually look into it, he's tweeted regularly enough about Leeds this season, and when you think about it, he's got a paid X account. So clicks and engagement are very important towards making a few quid for him on that platform, and Leeds are a very good topic to do that. But in this case, it doesn't appear that his agent was trying to stealthily orchestrate a move away from the club. Okafor has got 3 years left on his Leeds United deal, so he's not going to be going anywhere right now. He's playing the best football he's played in quite some time, the most amount of football since he was at Red Bull, and his output has been the highest it's been in quite some time as well. He's also spoken behind the scenes about this, and Okafor has said that he regards the Leeds United dressing room as family. There's a unity there. He's very happy and settled in Leeds as well. So it doesn't look like a player who's edging away for a move anytime soon. But Graham Smith in the Yorkshire Evening Post has decided to have a little bit of a deeper look into this and see if there are ulterior motives or someone trying to orchestrate something behind the scenes. And apparently, and as Smith rightly puts it, it does appear that these comments were aimed at somebody, but they were aimed at the Swiss national side more so than at anybody else to try and move Noah Okafor away from Leeds. Smith points out that Dan N'Dye has got 1 Premier League goal this season for Nottingham Forest. Joel Montero has got 4 goals for Young Boys this year, and both of those were the 2 attacking midfielders that started during the last international break for the Swiss national side. Well, Noah Okafor only made the squad because other players dropped out due to injury. So given that Okafor has issues with manager Yakim in the past, his reintroduction was as a backup more than anything else during the last international break. This might be an attempt to highlight Okafor's achievements and form this season and try and garner some fan sentiment and a little bit of pressure towards the Swiss national side before the squads for the World Cup are announced in the next month or so. So that looks like that's the direction they were doing it. I can understand that everyone should be a little bit skeptical and worried at this point of the year. Your better players being linked with moves elsewhere. But at the moment, it does appear that he is happy and content at Leeds, and that these comments appear to be aimed towards the Swiss national side. So let's move on. Talk about the latest on a potential move for Leeds United for Sporting Lisbon midfielder Hidemasa Morita, with several news outlets and insiders all reporting late last night and today. And there's a fair bit of updates on this one to get through. The first one comes from Sebastian Vidal. He tweeted late last night that discussions between Leeds United and Morita's camp continue and are said to be moving and progressing well and moving forward at this moment in time. The second one this morning came via Adonis Store, who has shared an update from Portuguese outlet A Bola. And Store's tweet reads as follows. According to Portuguese sports news outlet A Bola, LUFC have an agreement in principle to sign Japanese midfielder Hidemasa Morita on a free transfer in the summer. The versatile midfielder turns 31 on Sunday and can play in the 4, 6 or 8 positions. Now, we all know that Morita was keen on a move to Leeds United should we stay in the Premier League, and that looks like it's increasingly likely at this point. Heading into the weekend, we could be safe before we ever kick a ball on Monday night. His form recently for Sporting Lisbon has also been described as being really, really strong. So he's a player finishing the season on a high for his current club. Ebola say that the transfer is progressing well at this point, and both sides don't see any issues around costs or suitability at all. The reasons behind the move are also starting to leak out as well. And according to Ebola, they believe Daniel Farke is the primary instigator behind this move, as Daniel Farke wants to return to his preferred possession-based style of football. And Morita is seen as a player that absolutely fits that bill. And if you look at his statistics and his heat maps and what he does over the course of the season, he does fit that style pretty well. Now, it could be Leeds United's first transfer of the summer. It could be one they try and get wrapped up before he heads off on World Cup duty for Japan this summer, which he's expected to do. And a deal, according to all of these outlets, a deal in principle is in place at this moment in time, and it looks like it could happen sooner rather than later. We will keep an eye on this and we'll see if that actually ends up being the case over the next couple of weeks. Right, let's move on. Daniel James has had a really frustrating season, which started this time last year when he picked up an injury towards the back end of the season. That absolutely curtailed part of his pre-season, which is never a good thing when you're coming into a campaign that Leeds are going to come into this year in the Premier League. Getting as much minutes behind you and as much training behind you in a pre-season sets you up for the entire year. And James didn't get that, and he has had setback after setback after setback this season, which has been an incredibly frustrating year for him. He was hugely important for us last season in getting out of the Championship. I thought he would have a big part to play this year, but he's only managed to start 4 games for Leeds in the Premier League this season. He's only been involved in 16 Premier League games in total. But James did speak to the official Leeds United podcast, and he went all the way back to the Manchester City game of what he described as a gutting moment in that match, and that coincided with the game that Leeds switched to 3 at the back, which absolutely turned our season around. But speaking to them, he said the following: I got a rib injury at Fulham, which was weird. Then coming back from that, I did my ankle in training, which was off of a shot, and I landed weird on my ankle. But I came back within 2 weeks and we were playing well. And obviously it's harder to get minutes if we're playing well and performing. It's going to be a bit harder, especially having been out for a little while. I just worked really hard and felt really confident. I used every day to get something out of training, even if at the weekend I wasn't playing as much. I felt I worked really hard, and I ended up starting against City away. I felt I got my rewards, and then just before half time, I did my hamstring. It was a tough one because I think at the time it didn't feel that bad, and I ended up being out for 8 weeks, which was another low. It was gutting. It was a horrible season for Dan James, and he could have been a huge asset for Leeds this season, and he might still be in the next couple of games as well. But he's only 28 years of age. He signed a new deal with Leeds last summer, so he's with Leeds at least until 2029, unless they decide to move him on in the meantime. So I still believe Dan James has got an important role to play for Leeds even into next season. He's an experienced player at this stage as well. He's been very good for his national side this season, and you can see Dan James eventually moving into a right wing back position as he does play there for Wales as well. He needs to have a fit and healthy end to this season. He needs a full pre-season behind his belt next season, or under his belt next season, heading into the campaign. And we'll see how he goes at that stage. But Leeds not playing with natural wingers right now, so maybe a wing-back position is something Leeds are going to start looking at as he starts to get older into the next couple of years on his Leeds contract. Let's move on. Talk about another possible transfer for Leeds United that is floating around. But at this point of the season, there's absolutely tons of players that start to be linked with every single club. It's nothing new, but it is a case of trying to cut through the noise and finding out what is real and what is legitimate. And then even if you do manage to do that and you do figure it out, there's still no guarantee we necessarily get the targets that we're chasing because of competition from plenty of other clubs. Last month, Leeds were linked with a host of Wolverhampton Wanderers players as they head down into the Championship. Joe Gomez, Krejci, Mane and André were all linked with Leeds, and it's unrealistic to think that Leeds were going to try and sign 4 or 5 of Wolverhampton Wanderers starting 11 considering the season that they've had this year. But 1 or 2 of them could be smart moves. Joe Gomez was the obvious one for me. Really good midfielder, but there's significant interest from PSG in him, and that'll be a very difficult one to do if they even are interested in him. However, today, according to reports from RTS Esporte in Brazil, they say that Leeds United are set to make a record-equaling bid for Wolverhampton Wanderers central defensive midfielder André of £35.5 million, which is the same fee Leeds paid for Jorginho Ruter. Now, André has been a standout player in what has been an incredibly poor Wolverhampton Wanderers side this season, but he does still have 13 caps for Brazil. He started 27 games in the Premier League this season, and he's only 24 years of age, so he's got a big future ahead of him still. He's a defensive midfielder, and his stats are really, really strong when you look at that part of his game. He's at 180 recoveries in the Premier League this season. He's got a 91% pass completion rate, and his stats show him as one of the best ball-winning midfielders in the Premier League. Now, we know Daniel Farke likes to have an out-and-out defensive midfielder in his side. He's relied on Ilya Gruev quite a lot over the course of this season. Wolves are expected to allow him to move on this summer, as well as a lot of other players, as they try and balance their books heading into the Championship. But there are other sides that are said to be interested in him. There's some unnamed Premier League interest, as well as his former side, Fluminense in Brazil, are also said to be keeping an eye on his situation. He is seen, according to the report, as an upgrade for Leeds on Ilya Gruev as a CDM. His age makes him a potential long-term asset for the club, but it won't necessarily be a straightforward move. As I say, there is interest in him. There'll be more competition, and the fee will be a very big chunk of Leeds United's transfer budget if they were to make a move for him. Now, if you're going to be skeptical about this, and you probably should be skeptical at this point in a year, he is another defensive midfielder. Leeds have Ethan Ampadu, Ilya Gruev, Anton Stach, Autanake already there. If they add Hidemasa Morita to that, Sean Longstaff as well, that Leeds United midfield is getting pretty stacked, unless Leeds plan on selling or moving on a couple of those midfielders, potentially an Ilya Gruev, potentially even Autanake as well. Anton Stach was signed as a defensive midfielder, but has played far more as an attacking player since he's arrived at the club. But yeah, you can put a bit of skepticism behind that one. It's a lot of money for a role that Leeds already have players in. Is he a better version of them? Possibly in some areas, but it will be an interesting one to keep an eye on. Do you pay £35.5 million for a defensive midfielder? And that's only the opening bid that is rumoured to be out there right now. So we'll keep an eye on it. We'll add it to the list, but don't know about this one. We'll see. Let's wrap up today's news by talking about the academy. Leeds United under-18s unfortunately lost their second last game of the season yesterday. They went down 3-2 to Newcastle United away from home. Leeds went behind in the 25th minute, but did manage to get themselves back on level terms pretty quickly after Karakinjenko's ball across the box found Sam Alker to tap in. Kenneth Mensah was back involved with the under-18s as well yesterday as part of his youth loan with Scarborough United. He can play between the two sides, and he had the ball in the back of the net as well that was ruled out, unfortunately. Just before, Newcastle then went 3-1 up against the Leeds United under-18s before Ollie Pickles managed to get Leeds back into the game late on after two shots between Karakinjenko and Ibrahimovic Fletcher were blocked before Ollie Pickles poked the ball into the back of the net. Leeds under-18s will now face Burnley in their final game of the season away from home, which has been a challenging enough season for the under-18s. A lot of them have had to operate between the 18s and 21s in what's been a stretch goal season for a lot of the players this year, but they've handled themselves really, really well and very professionally this season. And it should be a season they take a lot of pride in. It's an awful lot for players of a very young age that play under 18 football to be asked to go and play under 21s as well at an elite level. So the future's bright for a few of these lads, and it's great that they're playing as much football as they possibly can. Folks, that'll be it for me today. Massive thanks as always for supporting the channel. You can check out the podcast tonight. You can download Finalysis in the bottom right hand corner using the QR code or the link down below in the description to support the channel, or you can hit subscribe and like, which are still the best ways to support the channel. I'll be back tonight for the podcast and tomorrow morning for more Leeds news. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'll talk to you soon. See you later. Bye.